cordiality, sincere affection, and kindness. What's up, ARMY? This is Bring the Soul.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
ARMY! What is up, everyone? Thank you so much. We are back here for the Bring the Soul after show on AfterBuzz TV. Thank you, ARMY, so much for joining us. We are here talking episode 5, Cordiality. I am joined by my amazing host. He is the third guy to my left.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Ollie Drennan.
Hi. We're just going to keep this roast to cook it.
We're just going to keep it going. And I am Veronica Valencia, and I'm going to 100% crash all of your V lives.
Woohoo! And I'm going to be right there, supporting her all
the way.
All the way.
Coming up in this episode, we're going to be talking all about, BTS starting their leg of the Europe tour for the Love Yourself tour, as well as them being influential international artists. We're also going to be talking about the injuries and the physical limits that our boys kind of have to set for themselves, as well as the theme of happiness that has an overall tone throughout this whole episode. We are also a show of variety, so we will be taking our own spin on Run BTS called RUN ABTV. What's the theme for today? You have to stick around to find out, as well as news about the House of BTS. But before we get into any of that, Ollie, what was your overall thoughts on this episode, as well as, I guess, the theme of cordiality, which I didn't really know at first, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's such a weird word to say. Like, I feel like all the other episodes' titles they're so nice.
They were direct,
crisp, and then cordiality. I'm like, that's a word, cordial. But anyway, I think that this episode kind of made me realize, seeing the boys, they seem the most, speaking of happiness you brought up, they seem the most happy when they're, it's weird to say this, when they're not performing and they're just together, like outside in the hotel room, or they're out drinking or eating Korean barbecue. They literally seem so happy, and so that's where they're most themselves. And I think that's when they feel the most safe. And they love performing. Hello, they wouldn't be doing what they wouldn't be doing that if they hated it, But I think with just wanting to be a good entertaining, there is so much pressure upon doing good, and it just sucks when the idea of injury comes, or when injuries actually do happen. That makes matters even worse. And so it's just nice to see them have that, those tense moments dissipate when they are together, when they're happy, being the brothers that they are.
Yeah. I thought this episode was, so far of this series, the most important episode. This entire series, we've kind of seen them talking about the pressure and how to keep up the energy, and how they just want to be great, and how they don't want to make mistakes, and how they have to kind of endure all of this while on tour, and they're doing so much. But it also, I found it just so important, because I think this was the episode where they really had to take a step back, reevaluate, their physical limits, because you can be great as much as you want. You can go extra 150%, but if it's going to put you at further risk of injury,
right,
it's kind of like, at what cost, for a great performance. So I thought it was a very important episode to see, and I liked the fact that they got to kind of take that step back and see, we needed to take care of ourselves, because we've seen so much of how they put pressure on themselves and have a harder time to let things go. So I just really liked that they did have that moment for themselves.
And it's just like a sport. I keep saying this, K-pop to me, and how it's kind of presented, is a sport. They take it seriously. We take it seriously too, but we're don't hurt yourself. But also, even some of the fans, it just looks like it's such a spectacle. It seems like a sport, and obviously with sports, you don't want injuries in sports, but we're not talking about sports. Screw sports. But you want to do good, but at the same time, it just really puts it in perspective for us fans to see where their heads are at, because we don't think of our favorite artists getting injured like that. But this is a different story when they're just touring and they're doing these 26 set list, concerts, and they're packed. They might be even sold out. So it's just baffling. Yeah. There's even more pressure on top of that to just be able to perform well.
In the beginning, I really liked Yoongi's quote of saying, U.S. and Canada have artists they can be proud of, meaning international artists. And I really liked that, because it's true. There's so much. I mean, I love K-pop. I like J-pop. There's some Spanish music. There's so much international music out there, and I like seeing those artists find success in other places as well. And I like that. I thought it was a very nice quote.
You mean like U.S. and Canada?
Well, not just, he meant U.S. and Canada specifically, but I'm just talking about artists, like international artists, being able to find success in other places in general.
Yeah, I think especially for us being K-pop fans, that's always kind of what we wanted, like with K-pop, to kind of make that scene, like make that get popular in U.S. At least, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you kind of wanted it. You felt like you kind of felt like, not a freak, but you felt weird for liking K-pop. It was so underground, and I think that the times have really gotten better, and I feel like we can kind of say that about BTS and other K-pop artists and groups and girl groups and boy bands and whatnot. So it's kind of cool. Like, I agree with that quote. I love that you brought that up.
And Jimin also said something kind of interesting here, too. So it's like this episode opens up with them just kind of having a really fun time, watching the game, just being normal, ordinary boys.
Happy.
As Namjoon, and happy, as Namjoon would say. But Jimin kind of has this thought of, like, wondering why people like them. And I don't know. It was interesting to me because I guess, when you do get to a point of success, I don't necessarily want to use the term famous, because I feel like famous in terms of how you approach it and how you want it is different from success. So when you do reach a place that is so successful, I guess you do tend to have those thoughts of, oh, how have I gotten here? Why do people keep coming back? Why do people respond to me? And it is just, I guess, kind of normal to have those thoughts.
Because I think in their shoes, they're not thinking of why we like them so much. Because not to bring up crushes, like let's say all these girls and boys that have crushes on them, they don't think of like, they're not thinking, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I completely lost track, all my thought. But yeah, anyways, please cut me off, Veronica.
Yeah. Well, we can also just talk about, how we've talked about this in other episodes. And again, it was briefly touched upon in this episode of how they learn from each other, and they continue to learn from each other. J-Hope is basically saying he learned so much in terms of music from Namjoon and how he doesn't take music lightly anymore. And it's kind of this responsibility. So, they're always learning from each other. And I feel like they continuously have moments where they do get to learn from each other because, especially with this is the first time that they got to go to Europe too for this tour. Right. So there's just more chances, more things to learn in terms of culture as well. So yeah, let's go into kind of the physical limits, because speaking of their first time in Europe, it's also just a very bittersweet kind of moment, because for Jungkook especially, he's so excited that he finally gets to go to Europe, but he gets to go to Europe and before their first concert, he gets injured. And it was the injury to his heel and he needed stitches and he couldn't perform. And it was very bittersweet, because we've seen in this series of how all these members and even the members themselves know how passionate they are for the stage, and it like really mentally hurts them that they can't perform. They feel like they have so much regret because they're disappointing people, which I don't think they are, because especially in Jungkook's case, because yeah, he might have not been performing 100% like the rest of the members, but he was still there. He was still a presence. He was still performing and singing his heart out. He just couldn't dance. So it was kind of sad to see how that crushed him, when I'm like, you still did what you could do. Right. But I understand, there's just, to them, there's a difference.
It's almost like you want to achieve, like they already know that they're not perfect, but you kind of want to be like 99% there all the time, and just having the thought of an injury, being injured, that already like, oh, I'm gonna disappoint my fans. I agree. I don't think that'll happen. Like the fans are just gonna go crazy that they're even in your freaking presence. Trust me, ARMY, like for real. But I mean, there's not to say that there's those crazy, horrible, toxic people that I don't consider fans to say nasty things, but I think it's that fear of possibly just disappointing people and making them feel sad that the group isn't complete, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And we've even kind of seen, so it's obviously with JK out, they go, Jin even mentioned it, they kind of go, 110%. They go over to kind of make up for the hole
Right.
in
And
their
then it's
performance.
like, oh, great, don't overwork yourselves, too.
But that's exactly what happened, especially with Jimin, because his muscles started to cramp up, and that caused him to have to miss the Graham Norton show, which I brought that up on a previous episode, and like, to me that was surprising because that was the first time I had ever seen them apart,
right?
Or like someone not there.
And it doesn't, like, I don't want to say this, but it doesn't feel right when they're all not there. And so for them to know that and fans acknowledging that, that's kind of, it's just like, it's a disruptance, and they don't want to just cause that disruptance, and it's like a lack of a better term. I'm not saying that's horrible that one of them's not there, but it's, as I said before, it's not complete, so it doesn't feel normal, air quotes,
yeah
it's not what we're used to.
Obviously, like the boys, like Tae was saying, it's a good day when it's optimal when no one gets hurt, and Yoongi is basically saying, oh, you're unlucky that you got hurt. Yoongi actually got like a shoulder injury when he was a trainee because he got hit by a car. He didn't tell anyone. Probably in the fear that something bad would happen, like they would let him go. But I mean, that's what I'm saying is that,
it's a good excuse of getting out of like work or
work. I mean, he doesn't want to get out of work. He loves his work. But, it's just getting injured is never good. And they want the best for everyone because they know along with being injured itself, it's painful. But then mentally, it's also painful because of how it affects them and their work.
Yeah. And one person's injury will not only affect the group, but it'll affect the fan reaction and whatnot. And it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
In multiple directions.
And it's nice to know that they continue to perform. Namjoon was basically saying we can't let the audience see that we are, worried or, really affected. We kind of have to go on as normal. But like I said, that just makes them want to go harder. And especially with Jim in particular, he goes super hard. I think Jungkook said this. He goes super hard to the point where he does strain himself. And that's just dangerous. So I like the fact that I'm not entirely sure if it was their manager or if it was their publicist or their coach who jumped in and said, you need to kind of put a limit on yourselves because, we keep getting down members, and that's just, it's not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for the performance, et cetera, et cetera.
And I think they needed that, honestly. Like,
they do.
They didn't, that manager / stage.
That guy.
that guy. Someone in the chat, someone in the comments, let us know who that was. But that person, like, said it perfectly, and it wasn't, like, nasty or super strict or completely off the, like, nothing what they were saying was outlandish. They weren't being unfair to the boys, because I think they needed that, and I hope that really put them in the right direction of how they're going to perform moving forward and take care of themselves. And also, like, going back to them, just that this is their first time in Europe, so that is sad. That's another added pressure on top of, like, oh great, we're down someone, kind of. And then I still think the fact that the fans in Europe, they're just happy that they're happy there that they're for the first time. They're seeing them. They're in their presence in Europe. So, like, I'm sure everyone was just happy to attend that concert.
I'm sure there was also concern. Like,
right.
They were happy that they were there, but they also share concern with members. They want Jungkook to get better, especially because, like, until this came out, I guess we really didn't see the severity of the injury or just, like, how much of a toll it actually had on Jungkook and Jim and their injuries. So it gives us that perspective. But RM honestly said it best in that done is better than perfect. Because it's true. We've talked about this so much on this show. Perfection is impossible to achieve. So it's just better to, do your best. And getting it done the best way that you can is honestly the best you can ask for. Because at the end of the day, when you get it done the best way you can, people are happy, people aren't injured.
It shows that you gave it all your best. And, there's nothing relatable or exciting about perfection. Kristen Bell said it best.
Perfection is boring.
Exactly.
Real quick, let's talk about kind of this overall theme of happiness, because especially, in Amsterdam, we have a lot of moments where the members are talking about being happy, and there are a lot of moments that me as ARMY felt happy, such as, just Jin and Taeyoung showing off their rooms. Jin whose first instinct is always to eat something, And then
Oh my
Tae-
God, what was that thing he was
I really
eating?
couldn't
That
tell
gold
if it
thing?
was a chocolate or not, like a golden
He
painted
just, like,
chocolate.
yeah, that was so weird.
I couldn't tell, but
I kind of wanted it. It made me happy. Like,
I
it literally
loved-
made, I was like, I want some.
I loved this quote when Tae is talking about his face mask, because his skin is worth it. I loved it. It's just, there are small moments that make us happy, but then we talk about the boys, and, Tae Young is always saying he wants to just make music with BTS for a very long time. And the thing that I loved about his speech here is that he has been very open about he doesn't mind if things go slower, because, he mentioned that they had opportunity to go higher faster, and he likes the pace that they're going. And I really respect that and appreciate that about what they're saying, is because sometimes in this industry, people see dollar signs and they want you just to get to the highest level possible, maybe before you're ready. But I
Right.
like the fact that that they have the opportunity to take their time, and they're happy with that.
And I think that's a good thing, because by taking your time, people aren't seeing you as like money. I
Yeah.
feel like you said, go fast as you can. People are just seeing you as money, and so I think it's like that old saying too as well. It's not about the destination. It's so stupid and
Yeah.
corny. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey, because that's what's going to make you grow at the end of the day. You don't want to skip all of that. You don't want to skip the growth and learning from one another, like the boys are doing, like we've been talking about.
Yeah.
That, like, don't be like the movie Click.
Yeah.
Like,
Just fast forward. And something else too that was nice about this topic of happiness was also kind of seeing, obviously they're happiest when they're performing, but I love seeing other things that make them happy, like Taeyoung's creative side with photography, or Jin playing video games or doing Eat Jin, or Suga producing music. So there's so many moments, like I said, that they find happiness, and that we as ARMY are happy that they are happy, but also happy watching them.
Mm-hmm. And it's cool to just to see them have like their own different set of interests, and they all just come together at the end of the day to perform, and it's cute, and it's like
They're just normal guys, and they are working
And they're
on
very
themselves,
humble.
and they're incredibly
that's the
humble.
thing. That's the most cordial thing about this freaking group and this episode.
All right, Ollie, any final thoughts?
I'm a little terrified to get to this. Well, we're gonna go to news.
We're gonna go to news first.
But
So
I'm a little
hold that
terrified.
thought.
Yes.
We are going to get into news, but before that, again, I just want to give a shout out to everyone in our chat. Thank you so much for joining us. To Jennifer, Marie, and Rainey, thank you for joining us. I love the conversation going on here. Purple you, ARMY. All right, now let's go into some news.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Yeah. So, ooh. So as I'm talking, we're going to play this video in the background and show some pictures. So I'm sure ARMY knows that the House of BTS opened up in South Korea, in Seoul. Just basically like a little pop-up shop kind of showing all of the members throughout their eras. So, the DNA era, Mic Drop, and they have all this merch, and it's just so nice. I'm honestly jealous that I am
my
not in Seoul
gosh.
myself.
I was reading it was there. It's gonna be there for 80 days.
For 80
until
days.
January 5th.
So it's going to to be there until January.
Beginning of January.
January 5th, 2020. So I have a few months to get there.
You do.
I honestly hope this pop-up shop travels.
Right.
I think it would.
That's the whole point of pop-ups.
Yeah.
They're supposed to travel. Be mobile.
Yeah, exactly. This would be awesome, because I know there's been a couple of pop-up shops that throughout the U.S. specifically for a couple of days. I would love if this travels and makes its way overseas,
it's so
because
cute.
I would wait in line for a very long time
It's
for
bound
this.
to. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be such a long line, but it's gonna be worth it.
Oh, yeah.
However, the great thing about pop-up is that they're free. They're free.
They're free.
I mean, the merchandise you have to buy,
But you can go to for free, take pictures.
If there's something you do want to buy, buy it.
Speaking of pictures, our boys actually also got to go and visit the pop-up shop themselves, and we have pictures of that as well. Right, Ryan?
Oh my gosh. Oh, so cute.
Okay, well we can talk about it. Yeah, so basically the cutest thing about this pop-up shop is they have these little figurines now. I'm not a figurine person, but I would buy the set of these BTS figurines because they are so cute. All of our guys got to take pictures kind of with their little figurine. Jin, we have pictures of RM, Jimin, and Jungkook, and then there's like outside there's the little ARMY bombs that you can take pictures with. So it's all a fun time. And like I said, I'm very jealous that I can't be there. And so I really hope it travels. There's Tay.
DNA, the DNA sweater too is so cute.
I will buy everything, and it will make me broke.
I want a BTS sweater. I think that's kind of my goal.
I want
for
all of them.
Winter. Winter.
Yeah, guys, let's all just dream about
Veronica,
being at the
2020.
House of BTS.
We're gonna be
We're gonna
there.
go?
It's gonna come in LA. It's gonna go to New York. I'm saying it now. It's gonna have a US pop-up tour.
And Ollie and I will camp out, and we'll go.
Yeah,
All right.
honestly.
We are a show of variety, everyone, and so we like to take our own spin on Run BTS called Run ABTV. What's the theme for today? We are going to guess that BTS member. I went first for the last round, so I think Ollie can go first this round.
Oh boy. Okay, let's do this.
Let's see if we know them.
Okay.
Probably don't, as much as I like to think.
Start stretching.
Yeah.
See. Oh no, that was mine. Okay, you have to guess, Veronica. That was from me.
Wait, then can I get that again? It's too deep to be Jimin. I'm gonna say, play it again. Here's the thing. A part of me wants to say J-Hope because he is the #1 sound effect, but it's not him because he's way more chaotic. I'm gonna guess it is Namjoon. That's my final guess.
Final guess?
Final guess. It's not.
Dang
it.
This one kind of threw me, so that's why I included
was
it.
it?
It was Suga.
Marie in the chat got it. She said Suga.
Oh my gosh, good job, Marie. Because it was like they're all together and he's just waving around. He's like super deep yells, one of those super deep yells.
Yeah.
So you were on the right track of like, it's you're on the right track.
I was on the right track. I knew it was a deeper voiced member.
Yeah.
All right, Ollie's turn.
Oh, that was mine too. that's yours. That's yours.
This is totally.
You're fine. No, don't worry.
That was J-Hope. That's Hobie. That's J-Hope. Paquito. Because he's I totally, that was from like an interview too, where they're talking about like who's your favorite song at the moment. I think it was
because it was an American interviewer.
Yeah, that one I knew.
Veronica, you are right.
Hey!
Good job. Good, very good job. I picked a really easy one for you.
Oh, thank you.
You've seen that interview before.
I've seen that interview.
All right, is it my turn now?
Is it Ollie's turn?
Oh God, here I go.
Yeah, here we go.
So much pressure.
That is a member.
Okay, that could literally be anyone. But I will say, I want to say, oh God, Jin?
Is that your final answer?
One more time. Okay, Jin. Jin. I want to say Jin.
He's your hope. You're his hope. He's J-Hope.
Okay, fine.
He's,
okay.
like I said, he's the #1 sound effect.
I know, but I wasn't sure if Jin was just having one of his moments.
I can imagine it being Jin and him being extra 100%.
I know. I was like, ugh, she's trying to throw me off.
All right, let's go with the last one.
That was kind of scary. Okay, I'm gonna guess. I think I know who it is. But I thought it was Jonathan. Sorry, I thought that was Jonathan at first. Jimin.
You think it's Jimin?
Yeah.
Final answer.
Yes. Damn it! Who was it?
It's Tay-Tay. It's Tay-Tay laughing.
0-0 for Ollie.
It's okay. This one is hard because it's like the most obscure sound. I literally had J-Hope going, I know.
Those are good though. It's like they could be anyone. All right.
I just want to give a shout out to Marie again in the chat, who pretty much got all of these, I'm sure. She's guessing Suga, J-Hope, Hobie, Taeyoung.
Good job.
You guys are so good. But these games are really fun, and
They're
we enjoy
super fun.
playing, and we appreciate you playing along with us. For right now, though, that is all the time we have for episode 5 of Bring the Soul Cordiality. Ollie, where can ARMY find you on social media?
ARMY, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, along with my purple hair, at OllieDreamer.
And you can find me, Veronica Valencia, on Twitter and Instagram at It's Me, Veronica_V. Thank you so much for tuning in to the BTS Bring The Soul After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Stay tuned as we are covering the final episode next to BTS and ARMY. We purple you.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.